Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the New Creators Podcast. I'm Micah.
My name is Sean.
And I am Perrin.
He is here.
All right, and we are back. It feels like it's been a while since I've been here, but I guess it's only been
I know.
a month.
It has been.
It's only
2
been
months.
a month. Well, 2 months for you.
2 months
it's
for
only
you.
been a month for us.
But still, a lot happens in a month. This semester's flying by
So
for
true.
me, which is weird. Like,
I feel that. Yeah.
I've missed you, Micah. I missed you because it's scary being
both
the
missed you.
host. It's very daunting, especially when I have
Are you
Perrin
saying-
and
are you saying
Corbin
I'm
to
not the
contend
host?
with.
are you saying I'm not the host, Sean?
Oh.
Is that what
Well,
Am I
I mean,
not?
I
Is
kind
that-
of
We're all- I
just
would say,
assume the role.
Host is not the right word because we're all
We're all hosts, but I feel
It's-
like you're the one that kind of keeps us like on track. You're the one
I
that
try
like
to keep us
Yeah.
on the rails.
I like to think that I'm sitting in like the passenger seat and Perrin's like in the
It's-
back, kind of like we're
Sean
both
is
trying to turn this
Sean
steering wheel.
is a more nervous driver than Mike.
I think a better illustration for that might be that Perrin's in the side. What is it? Crap.
Passenger.
What am I
I'm
looking at?
shotgun this time.
There's shotgun. There's
Yeah.
the word I was looking for. Good grief. Perrin's on shotgun. I'm in the driver's seat, and Perrin's trying to like wrench the wheel from my hands while I'm driving.
Man,
And Sean is like in the back seat, like
That
just
would,
like along with like terror. Yeah.
that would
I've not put my seatbelt on, so I'm just like flailing around in the back.
I think
as the
that's
car
exactly what it
swerves.
is.
The funny thing about this metaphor is that in the case of Sean having to deal with it with me and Corbin specifically, is neither me nor Corbin have our driver's licenses. So,
Wait, why?
well, for one, time. Two, parents are too busy / too scared to teach us.
Wait, how can that? Did they drive?
Oh,
They're
they
scared
drive.
of driving.
Well,
They're scared of you being in the,
well,
back,
you
the actual
see,
driver's seat.
my mom tried to teach my older sister how to drive, and she was not a very good driver, and that did not go very well. And it was very emotionally trying for the both of them. And so, and then at one point, my sister kind of crashed in the car. Not like crash, but like hit another car.
That is a crash.
And so then my mom was like,
I'm saying I
"You know
know
what?
a crash.
Yeah, my mom was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to teach anyone else. And then she caved because, surprise, I'm good at driving, apparently. But yeah.
Oh wow. Well,
Anyway.
Anyway,
Anyway.
tangent number 1 right off the bat. Ugh.
well, that was a
let's-
great start. That was an amazing start.
Let's keep track of what we've all been doing. Sean,
and this
why
is
don't you,
this is why you're here, Mikey. You keep us on
Exactly.
track.
and that's the goal. That is the goal.
Me and Corbin would have gone
so-
on for another 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, the fact that we've got the intro done this fast is impressive. So what I've been working on. Firstly, commission. Specifically, I actually a real commission for a change. I've not done one of those in a hot minute. So I don't want to give too many details because obviously it's a real life thing. I don't want to be doxxed, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to be doxxed. So
Fair.
basically, I've got this friend from my old work. He now works as a self-employed handyman, and he asked me, hey, would you be willing to make a logo for my workshop, which is called Rough Hands. That's not the full name, but it's enough to give you an idea. So then I came up with a couple of sketches. Originally it was 2 like separate hands, and it was like going to be scuffed and everything, but the problem with that was if you scaled it down, like for a social media icon, it looked awful. You couldn't see anything. So then I came up with a different one. I'll see if I can quickly find it. I think I shared it somewhere. I might have shared it in my server, so I hope I can find it. I have found it. I'm quite happy how it turned out. Here it is. I'll put it in here. Boom.
Yes.
Ooh, that's
This is
sick.
good. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember you shared this in your server before. Very
Yes.
nice.
That's
So-
excellent.
Yeah, so basically, for those who obviously are listening, it's a peace sign that has a circular saw kind of like integrated into the hand.
Mm.
That's kind of the vibe we're going for.
Yeah, that's sleek.
I know, I was quite
Very
happy with
nice.
that one.
Yeah,
Very
dude,
slick.
that's awesome.
But
That's
yeah,
gonna be the episode thumbnail, dude.
Fingers are very hard to do, and this
I
feels
know,
very natural. it doesn't feel
the amount of
weird.
references I had to look at for this was insane. Like the amount of different like just to get it. 'Cause I've never done anything like that in the past. I'm awful with drawing people and hands. I've never been able to do it. So to do that took way too long. It took much longer than I should admit. But I'm quite happy how it turned out. I'm quite happy with the color as well. So
Very nice.
I'm pretty happy with
Yeah,
that.
dude, that's sick.
I also made. I'm doing a kind of a new vibe with my edgy designs, as you may have saw. It's for a song called Seaforth by King Cruel, who I've actually mentioned on the podcast in the past as well. I think I also shared this in my server. I'll see if I can quickly find it. If not, I'll have to just make you guess what it looks like. But I think I can quickly find it. But let's see. Come on.
Did you post them to your Behance? I forgot.
I did actually. I can get it from there.
I'm so
Hold on.
smart.
Oh, you are
That's
so
the
smart.
I love how I remember where Sean
I will
posts-
also say that it's I cannot stand Behance. It's killing me, dude.
It's Adobe. What do you expect? Everything Adobe makes, I can't stand.
No. But I mean specifically the pronunciation.
Yeah.
Behance.
I say
Behance.
Behance.
It's Behance.
It's
or
Behance.
See,
Behance
I
is
say
posh
I
people.
say
It's like-
Behance because I'm a nerd, and I did when I did like a few years of Latin. I'm used to specifically the macron symbol on the E making an A sound, because that's what they do in Latin. It makes an A sound. So I'm used
It's
to Behance because that makes more sense to my weird brain.
I also took Latin, and I did not have that issue.
Well, did you take classical or ecclesiastical Latin?
What are you
Classical.
nerds talking about? I never done any Latin. We didn't even have that as a class. Our languages was like Spanish and French.
You see,
Actual
we were both
languages that people speak.
You see, we were both homeschooled, and so we're extra.
Yeah.
Oh,
Extra
yeah.
languages. I tried to get my parents to allow me to do like coding for a language, like for language credit for high school. And they were like that doesn't count. You can't do that.
No, they're
I was
right,
like, ah,
they're
dang
right.
it.
I can speak in binary.
Man,
It just starts speaking Morse code. You just go
I
beep,
I
beep,
speak
beep,
I
beep,
speak
beep.
One
I
of my
speak-
friends
I
one of my
speak
friends
fluent
did
HTML.
one of my friends did American Sign Language for their foreign language, which is
Yeah, that works.
That's pretty good.
Because
That's good.
that's like an actual method of communication. We're already off topic,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fast. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
we're good.
shared the design I was talking about. So it's Seaforth,
Yeah, that's good.
a song off of King Cruel's new record from last year. Like I say, I went for a different vibe. It's like instead of stretching text and manipulating it, it's more about just like the structure of it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I was actually partly inspired by what you did, Perrin. That was partly what I
Ah.
was inspired by. So
I see.
if you kind of get that vibe, yeah. But yeah, I was quite happy with that. I also did some different things with texture. I wanted to give it more texture because a lot of my other ones are usually
Yeah.
quite flat. So I wanted to give it more grain and kind of a more
Yeah.
natural look. So
I think it's really cool because it balances like the like busy text heavy vibe of a lot of edgy posters, but it's more simpler. It's more like
yeah,
big blocks instead of super intricate details, which works really well.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a nice like twist on the approaches you've been using previously.
Why, thank you. That was a very good review of the design.
I'm very eloquent with my wording sometimes, if I try to be.
Yeah, not me. I'm just whatever word comes into my dumb brain. That's how that works for me. But yeah, that's what.
Whatever
I've been
you can
working on.
find. If you're listening, you can find that design at behance.net/da-ta.
Yeah, free promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love free promotion.
Perrin, what have you been working on?
All right. So similarly to Sean, I've also been doing, among other things, I have made a new poster design as well. It has not yet been shared anywhere, aside from no, not anywhere public. It has been in. I have post the process of making it in Sean's server, but I have not posted it to Behance or anything because up until now hasn't quite been done. So this is a poster. Oh, well, okay. Quick backstory. About a year ago, for my Type 1 class, we had a project where we had to make a little mini album cover for a specific song, and so I did "Blossom" by Porter Robinson for that. And I liked what I came up with, but it was very simple. And so since then, for like most recently, like the last couple months, I've really wanted to like turn it into a more in-depth poster, a more detailed, a lot
And
bigger.
that you did.
And that I did.
Yes, that
And
poster is
that-
amazing.
So I
It's
was lucky
gorgeous, it
enough
really is.
to have my photography for design class have the last project of the semester be making a poster or a zine or a flyer or whatever. And so I thought, wait a minute, I already want to do this. Now I can use this class as an excuse to actually do a project I already want to do. So surprise, I made the poster for Blossom. It's a lot bigger. It's a lot more detailed. It's very cool. Actually, just today, like a few hours ago, me and my friends went to Costco and Staples, and we went to Staples specifically so I could get it printed out because I had to print it out for my for the assignment because I had to ship it
Out
off.
of curiosity, how big did you print it?
18 by 24,
size?
so not terribly big.
Nice, dude.
Big. So
Yeah.
Oh, he's even brought it. He's brought it with him.
I brought it with me.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
I love
So I'm
what I
gonna
like
have
about
it-
it is it's so unconventionally structured, but yeah, it still flows so
Yeah.
easily. It doesn't feel
I
busy or
kinda-
confusing.
I like the idea of because it's kind of very compartmentalized a little bit. I think that's what someone else used that word to describe it. I think that's a good way to put it. I did want to do a little more of having things kind of break out beyond the borders of their holding containers. And I do like how I did that with the Blossom text itself. It's kind of overlapping. So I could probably do a little more with that, but I'm still in the future, but I'm still super happy with how this turned out. And I'm really, really very
That's
pleased
sick,
with it.
man.
And it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
Man, I am moving out, so I don't really have any reason to put this on my wall right now because I'm gonna have to tear it down in a week. But yeah, it's gonna be cool to have this on my
I
wall
feel
at
that.
some point.
I'm moving out on Wednesday, so I feel you.
Yeah, I think I'm waiting till next Sunday. I think. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, posters. That's what I've been doing. What else have I been doing? I gotta think about the other assignments I did. Currently in the middle of a brand design project for my brand design class. We had to pick a nonprofit and rebrand them, so I'm doing Habitat for Humanity. Because they're a really cool organization and their logo is not good. So I made a quick little rebrand for it. I gotta do a very in-depth brand presentation on it. Not give a brand presentation, but in detail
Okay, I wouldn't say
like-
their logo is bad.
I
What's
don't
it called
like
again?
I-
The charity?
concept is
Habitat?
good. Habitat for Humanity. The concept
okay.
It's very
of it is good.
Look, it's very
but it is very
it's very
poorly
2010s.
rendered. It is
it's
very
very
poorly rendered.
2010s.
I
I
just
would
don't like the
define
way
it as functional. It's functional.
works
That's about it.
for what it is, but it is not good. So what I've done is I've made it actually decent. I've taken the same concept and
Okay.
actually simplify. I gotta find where I put
Yeah.
it. There's so many. I gotta stop
actually-
doing just a giant singular folder with all of my exported PNGs in there. That's not a good way to do this.
feel
I gotta
that.
actually sort
Same.
this sometime. Yeah, it looks like this. This is a slightly older version. I think I've updated a few things since then, but that's the general idea. So
I've seen that.
yeah,
Yeah.
simple.
It actually
effective.
reminds me of something else from another
Yeah.
charity. So we have a charity here in the UK. That's really good, by the way.
Thank you.
So here in the UK, we have a charity, an animal rights charity called the RSPCA. They're the biggest one here, and they actually just rebranded for their 200th anniversary. And I will say, their old logo was functional. It's the same as the Habitat for Humanity one, but their new one's actually pretty cool. I thought it was really clever because they used the full stop and expand it at points to add little icons,
Ooh.
of animals.
I love this.
This is really cool.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
It's really.
I just saw it
really
the
well
other
done.
day.
Super
It is
well
really
done.
nice. Yeah, it's really clever. I quite like it. It's simple, but it still has this kind of thing where I love those brands where it's simple, but then it also has this very expansive kind of
Yes.
thing where they can adapt it to tons of different situations.
Yes, that's where brands are at their best. I think where it's
Yeah.
you have very simple base, but it's so it's got so many layers to it and so much variation where it could fit anything you could possibly need. Which
Yeah.
is
It's like
really,
an
really well
onion.
done. Yeah, I've only
Yes.
seen this. I saw this on. That's a Shrek reference right there, if I've ever heard one. I saw this on Brand New by Under Consideration, the blog. Follow that blog, by the way. Subscribe to it. It does cost money,
Brand
unfortunately.
New is very good.
It's very good. It's very much worth your $20 a year. But I heard about this 2 weeks ago. I'm so, man, look at me. I'm so cool because I pay money for a blog. Yeah, it's a super nice rebrand.
Very nice,
Very
especially
nice.
because it brings them into the 21st century. I feel
Exactly.
Funnily enough, their old logo was made the same year I was born, so that's how old it is.
Yeah,
Nice.
like color palette's a lot brighter. I love the little animal illustrations; they're all really nice. The typography is really, really well done, and it feels like very friendly, which is very.
It does.
I would say it's a lot more friendly than the other. The other one is very.
Yeah, it feels like
Well,
very
like
corporate. That feels like a bank.
Yeah.
The old logo.
It does. It does. So I'm glad they changed it. I think it makes sense for what they do. It fits their brand and their kind of whole mission. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that because it kind of reminded me of that when you mentioned the Habitat for Humanity thing.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
I've been working on a new app, an app that I've not even mentioned on the podcast before.
Wow.
And it's called
Spicy.
Offsides. Offsides.michaelmillionary.com is where you can find it right now.
self promo, nice.
Self promo, of course. But there's this app in the US for universities called Yik Yak, or also called Side Chat. It's called different things at different.
Side Chat
places.
is a better name. I'm just going to be honest. Side Chat, Yik Yak sounds goofy.
Yeah. So it's this very popular app, and it is for. Let me give a little more backstory here. Yik Yak existed for a while, and then SideChat came along. SideChat bought out Yik Yak.
Right.
And Yik Yak used to be a cross-platform thing. It was iOS and Android, and it was essentially like you can talk with the people at your school, and it's like Reddit but anonymous, and it's with the people at your school. It was great. It was not great, actually. There's a lot of problems with it.
Yeah,
many reasons.
I feel like every time you've got an anonymous social media, you're just kind of.
As soon as I
Yeah.
heard the word anonymous, I'm
Yeah,
just
I
like,
was
that's
like,
a disaster
yeah.
waiting to happen.
That is,
Yeah.
man,
So-
you were just
so-
waiting.
So
for
what happened
all the Nazis
is
to poke their
over
heads
the
out.
years, Yik Yak kind of like went in and out of existence, kind of with various legal issues, and they were bought out by SideChat, which had significantly less legal issues, but was a very similar concept. However, when SideChat bought them, SideChat was an iOS app.
Right.
Their code was an iOS app. So instead of like buying Yik Yak, they republished SideChat as a second app with Yik Yak's branding and called it Yik Yak.
Interesting.
But in
What?
reality, it was just a reskinned version of SideChat.
So they took the worst name out of the two of them and then used that? Are they insane?
No. They made two. Like on the App Store.
So there's SideChat and
both
Yik
exist.
Yak. Oh my god.
What you don't understand is that Yik Yak has a brand presence among universities in the United States.
Yeah.
A
Right.
large one, a pre-existing one. That's
See,
it's very.
It's so weird being in
Phenomenal.
Europe because to me, like, when I was in college and that, we used WhatsApp. That was us. It
Yeah.
was just WhatsApp. None of these
Um,
weird other anonymous ones or whatever. You know?
Man.
So, well, the point of the app is like, oh, I'm gonna complain about classes. Oh, I'm gonna complain about why the cafeteria food is not bad. Oh, I'm gonna drop this little piece of information here that I'm not supposed to know. Like, it's essentially like the campus gossip app is what it
yeah,
is.
Right.
that's what it sounds like.
So the thing
we would
was
have the
that-
time. People in my school would have the time of their lives with that thing.
I bet. I'm surprised they don't have it already. But so anyway, my point is that when SideChat bought them out, they just let the Android app go to rot because they like not even go to rot. Like it just stopped working one day because they were like, "Hey, SideChat runs on iOS and our servers are designed for the iOS app and we're not going to do any backwards compatibility or anything." So they just they made it stop functioning. Period.
Cringe.
I have an Android phone, and I was like, I would like to access SideChat. So I set out reverse engineering the API for SideChat. And I found this guy at Brown University, which is a big university in the United States, who had published a GitHub repository of like a very like basic like proof of concept of an Android version of it. And I took his information, took my own research, and started building a new app called Offsides that is a side chat client for Android. And it is actually heavily based on the source code for Waste of Mobile, which is cool.
I was going to say, it looks quite like it, the UI, from what I'm seeing in the screenshot.
Does.
So I'm assuming you just basically went, that'll do, and then kind of worked backwards from that, I imagine, to an extent. In terms of the UI.
I copy and pasted a lot of the UI from Waste of Mobile.
Which makes sense.
However,
they both kind of, it works.
Mm-hmm. However, it is slightly different. Because it is slightly different because it is like the branding for side chat is a little different than branding for Waste of money. So I went through and tried to do as much like tweaking, changing border radiuses and stuff like that to make it look a little bit more like it fit in with the side chat brand.
Smart.
Anyway, the point is that client exists now, and it's like. It's super easy to use. Let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super easy to use. You got all your posts here. It's got reposts. It's got a profile page with all your notifications and stuff.
Very nice.
It's got a profile editor where you can edit your profile emoji. You can change your profile theme. Yeah, and it's even got DMs, which was a hard thing to build in, but
nice. Yeah, it must take a while.
So, yes. So anyway, that app exists now, and it was actually a lot easier to build than I thought. But I mainly bring this up because I think it's a good example of how how the internet works well. So like I would not have been able to do this because the way that you like authenticate with their API is very weird because it's like an SMS like text verification system, and it's like multiple like API requests to get everything right, and they have to be done in a very specific like flow. I would have no idea of this. However, this guy had already started, and the fact that I was able to just like email this random person at a different university who I've never met and be like, hey, I want to use what you've built to build something new, and then that he would come back and say, oh, this is great, here's your information, and here's more information that I have that I just haven't used. Like, I think that's a great example of the internet just working, connecting people and like making sure that like cool stuff can be built, even between people who don't even know.
Yeah. Well, it's like the waste of stuff as well. Like, it's a similar thing when we all joined. There was no mobile apps or anything like that. That was something that was built by other people in the community, like yourself and Oren for iOS, and like there's extensions and other things that other people have built specific for waste of, just because like people have collaborated who've never met each other, live across like different continents and everything. It's really cool to think that kind of stuff can just happen, you know. So yeah, but it looks really cool, this Offsides app. Like,
super cool.
It's really impressive
project. Very impressive. I have no idea how.
Especially the DMs things. The DM thing is really impressive because like you had to do that from scratch because you had no base to do that with in terms of like the UI and stuff. I think that's really impressive.
Yeah. It was a fun time though. It was a really actually like much faster to implement than I thought it was going to be. And there's still bugs and stuff in it that need to be worked out, and UI things that should be fixed, but it's really not bad. It looks pretty solid. So
no, I said you've been on a winning streak because the waste of app's great and this app looks amazing. So
the literal reason why is because I started using React Native to build my apps, and it lets me build apps super fast and super well, because there's a really great UI framework for Android native apps in React Native, and it's great.
Yeah, because this app I actually like, it's on my main homepage now. That's how much I actually like it. So
let's go.
But yeah,
awesome. Really, let's get into some things. We've seen in the news lately. We'll kind of do a lightning round here.
Ding ding.
So Biden is signing in the TikTok ban into law in the United States. And so he's essentially giving them an ultimatum that they have to, for the parent company, ByteDance, has to divest their interests in TikTok, or it will be banned from the United States.
Man.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, so I think they have 9 months, and then it can be extended if the president believes they were like making progress. But other than that, it's 9 months, and that'll be banned in the US. So that's interesting, I would say. We talked about this a bit in the last podcast,
We did.
like the last episode.
Yeah,
and
it's still really funny to me that it's like, we can only have American spyware on our phones. Only the NSA is allowed to do that.
Yeah, only Zuckerberg can steal all my private information and sell it to the highest bidder, please. It's pretty funny. I just find it very funny.
But possibly the funniest thing, and Sean, you posted this in here, is the fact that
Yeah.
Joe Biden's campaign
they're still posting on TikTok.
is continuing to post on TikTok, even though they've
we're banning TikTok, but we'll still use it until it's banned, though. That's so. And what's even worse? So this
you gotta market to the kids somehow.
Hello, fellow kids.
So,
how do I do this TikTok dance? I'm going to do the floss now.
It's oh gosh.
That's how I imagine
it's
TikTok's like. I don't use TikTok, but that's how I imagine it'd be like.
Man, this is a great way to alienate an entire generation of voters.
Yeah,
I know that's what I think as well as done. But not to get into the political side, but I didn't realize this in our previous episode. I didn't know this, but when they were like kind of this bill was starting to get pushed along, that's when Biden joined, like Team Biden joined TikTok. They joined in the midst of it. So it wasn't even like they had the account prior to this. They joined TikTok in the midst of all this. During the Super Bowl.
What's the likelihood that they didn't know what it was and then found out because of this whole shtick? And they're like, wait a minute, this is like a social media platform? We should use this. And then
I thought that's what the noise a clock made. Oh my god, it's very much like old man yells at clouds to me to an extent.
Especially if one of their concerns is the fact that it's a security concern to the government.
Yeah.
You're gonna have people that are like around government officials all the time, like campaign managers.
Yeah, using it.
And using this app,
but also,
like, what the heck?
This is the other thing. So, like, a lot of countries, including my own, have banned TikTok on, like, government phones and stuff. But, like, why don't you ban Facebook, Instagram, all the other data harvesting companies as well?
For government phones, that makes...
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's my point.
For government phones, that makes total sense because you don't want... Like, it doesn't really matter if information leaves your device necessarily near as much as it does if your information loses or is lost to an outside government.
But like at the same time,
that's a little different.
At the same time, what government secrets are you posting on your TikTok account, dude? that they could possibly
that's not my
point.
My whole point was I get why they're doing it on government phones. That's fair, but I also think it's a bit silly to not do it to other companies. I know they're American. Sure. I get they're American, so I get the point there. But still, by that logic, these companies still have interests that are not in the American interests. I imagine they would happily sell secrets to other countries if they were given enough money. Let's not pretend like any of these companies are any more moral than TikTok is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I say, the biggest difference is just TikTok is not an American company. That's the biggest difference. But that's my biggest issue with it. It's not that I think TikTok is like a beautiful haven.
And
it's not. But it's just, I find it a bit hypocritical.
That's the thing about TikTok too, is that like people don't really entirely know how to handle legislation surrounding it because most major like big tech companies that have worldwide influence, most of those, or social media companies at least, are based in the US. Like there's some like, again, you've got massive ones in China and Japan that have massive amounts of user base. However, those are mostly in those countries localized. America is where
WhatsApp
most
based
of the
in China? I forget.
No, that's owned by
WhatsApp
Facebook.
is owned by Facebook.
Oh, sorry.
You're thinking of WeChat. Right, you're thinking of WeChat.
That's what I'm thinking
WeChat,
of.
WeChat
is WeChat is massive in Asia.
Yep.
Specifically China. Yep. But like not like it. I mean, it's unique in that we've never really had to deal with a social media platform that's this big and also not American based, and so the American government is kind of like
they're freaking out. They're scared.
Yeah, they weren't scared when Facebook was selling information and Cambridge Analytica and all that, but it's fine. That's my only issue with it. It's not that I'm saying TikTok is a good thing. I definitely think they're shady. I definitely think they're not a great thing. Definitely not. I just think we should also be as wary of American companies. We shouldn't just let them off the hook just because they're from your home. Exactly. I think you should actually be more critical of them because you have even more control over them, because you can regulate them more.
They're simply not any better or really much worse than Instagram or Facebook are, which is the weird part.
That's my only point. Like, again, I get why they're doing it. I just think it's silly because, again, you could make all these same arguments for all these other social media networks. All of them have the same vested interests that TikTok do. It's just the only difference is they're American, except and not Chinese. That's the only difference, I think. But yeah, I thought that'd be an interesting update anyway, since we talked about it last time.
Yeah. Let's move on here. Sean, you want to talk about this one?
Yes. So we talked about this a little bit. We've kind of talked about it like for almost since like last year now when it first came out. But obviously the EU is been forcing Apple now to officially allow sideloading. And this is kind of also came alongside the whole US government also just launching their own antitrust suit. And it seems like this pressure has gotten to Apple as they've actually allowed for the first time ever game emulators on the iOS store. I don't know if it's actually on the store. Yeah, opens the App Store to retro game emulators. Yeah, so it's on. They're actually allowing game emulators to go on the App Store for the first time because obviously they're banned since Apple never let them on. So I just thought it's a bit interesting because how only two things, which is the DMA and then this antitrust suit, has essentially almost broke down one of the major parts of Apple's walled garden, we call it, because the App Store to Apple is like their most important product in terms of making money and keeping people locked in to Apple products. And suddenly now we're not just getting sideloading. I think there's already like Alt Store, I think it's called. You can actually sideload that now, but we're actually getting emulators now, which used to be banned. So you can actually play retro games like you would on Android, for example, by sideloading game emulators. I just thought that it's pretty crazy to see. And I'm curious to see what actually comes next, considering now the floodgates are somewhat opening. And it seems like Apple's kind of ecosystem is starting to become a bit less locked up.
There's there's a good article from, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Macworld, but I think it's Macworld. Yeah, there is. It's called Apple's Walled Garden is Wilting, and it's all about explaining how like Apple thought that everything was gonna be like, if we keep everything to ourselves, then no one can do anything about that, and then we're gonna have an essentially monopoly over anyone who wants to be in our ecosystem. They have to be fully in our ecosystem or not in our ecosystem.
Yeah.
However, I would say stuff's been slipping. Like again, the RCS implementation that's upcoming this year.
Yep.
Which I'm super excited about. Having to open it up to at least in the EU to third-party app stores.
Yep.
Now emulators. And they browser engines too recently.
Yes, that's happening as well. So hopefully we'll actually see proper like Google Chrome, proper Firefox.
Yes.
Like that'd be amazing. Like Firefox on Android has extension support. That would be amazing to have on iOS.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. It does very much seem like Apple may be having to become somewhat of a more even player in the tech space.
It's basically
in the past.
We're trying to tip the scales back in favor of like everyone, so everyone has the same kind of playing field.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Especially like Google, Apple, Amazon, and Meta, they've all had kind of like a monopoly on the internet, at least kind of the big chunks of the internet. So it feels like now we're trying to kind of turn the steering wheel back to try and give everyone a bit more of a fair shake.
Also like USB-C.
USB-C. Yeah, that was a massive
mandated.
one.
That was a big.
And what's even funnier was how that was the biggest change in the iPhone 15, really, except from like the chipset, was just like they put a USB-C port.
Yeah,
which is really funny. Yeah. But it's good though. It's good to see that finally that iPhones are just becoming more open. It makes them better for consumers. I think that's the main thing.
I also am interested I'm also interested because the whole thing they used to justify it was, oh, if we let it be open, it's security risks.
It's not.
We have not seen any major security risks since any of this.
But also,
I feel
it doesn't make sense
man.
because, for example, if I'm not mistaken, I don't own a Mac, but I have used them a couple of times. To my understanding, you can download any app from from the web and install it on Mac.
You can download any file from anywhere.
Yeah, that's a security risk.
Surprise!
Turning on your phone is a security risk.
Exactly.
There has to be a line here. Like, if you don't want to sideload an app, don't sideload it. That's a simple.
More
practice.
than anything,
if you're scared of getting a virus from a sideloaded app, do not sideload apps.
Yeah, it really sounds to me like Apple is like desperately trying to like, oh, but our standards for security are so much higher than theirs, so you're gonna get your phone full of viruses. You can't do that. You know, like they're
99% of iPhone
desperately coming up with
anyway.
the most childish excuse that they can come up with in order to actually like try to convince people to you know, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all the companies did it because during the DMA talks, like Microsoft was trying to make out that Edge shouldn't have to be uninstallable, but they try to say, well, we're not the biggest browser, so we shouldn't have to do that. But the thing is like, your browser has been gaining market share because you're making it the default and people cannot remove it. And you're also forcing people to open it even when they've changed their default, because the Windows search defaults to not just Edge, but Bing. Even if you have Edge set as your default and you've changed the engine to like, say, Google, for example, it defaults to Bing if you open up a search in Windows search.
That's why Edge Deflector is still great.
Oh,
even with the changes. Download Edge Deflector; it's wonderful.
Yep, I recommend it.
There's an update recently that even let you do like,
block Copilot and stuff.
Yeah, block Copilot. It lets you. Oh, when you click weather, it'll like open the weather on like Google instead of like Bing weather.
Bing
Great.
weather,
it's magnificent.
Bing weather.
No.
MSN,
weather,
even worse. MSN. I've not heard that name since like the early 2000s.
Man.
Yep.
I think the last time I used MSN unironically was when I was like 5. Like, come on now. But yeah.
Anyway, that's a fun one.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
All right, Perrin, we're giving you. I'm
set the timer. Set the timer.
I'm setting a timer right now. You get.
Drum roll.
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
That's generous. That's
all
generous.
Right.
9 minutes. I feel like that's very generous.
All
okay,
right.
Ready? Starting now.
It's my time to shine, specifically because this last couple of weeks has been NFL uniform release season. We had 4 teams unveil new uniforms. First team that released theirs was the New York Jets. They threw it back to a set that they previously wore during the 80s and early 90s. It's very simple. It's very plain stripes. They were an okay team during this stretch. Green helmet, a more like retro futuristic logo that I really like. So they threw it back to that set with a adjusted shade of green that's a lot brighter. New logo slick based around this older logo, which is really, really nice. It's very, very cool. Very good overall. Not a whole lot to say about it. Looks really nice. They had a black alternate with it because, of course, they've had a black alternate recently. They don't need one, but like for what it is, it's fine. A overall. Second team was the Detroit Lions. They unveiled new uniforms. They returned to a block number font, which is really nice. They added blue face masks to the helmet instead of silver, which I'm not the hugest fan of, but it still works really well. They have updated their stripe, so it's more visually similar to like a stripe you'd see on the front of a muscle car. And Detroit is very famous for its automotive industry, so it works really well. It looks really cool. It's on the helmet and jersey and pants, except only points I will deduct for this uniform is it's not on all of the pants, which is really disappointing. It's only on the silver pants, but not the blue or white or black pants. And the Lions also added a black alternate, which they don't need. So that's points off for both of those things. I'm going to give it A- overall. And then the Broncos unveiled their uniforms, and they kind of suck. They're kind of bad. The jerseys
I
themselves,
disagree.
I don't like them, dude. It's the kind of
They're kind of fun.
They're kind of fine. it's just a bunch of small things are really stupid to me that don't work. They went all in on this triangle pattern, triangle specifically because they represent mountains on maps, which is a fine justification, but like, why? You know, in of itself, I don't mind the triangle patterns, but they like put them in the numbers, and it's like kind of like a half like gradient pattern that kind of looks like mesh numbers, which I think makes the uniform look a lot cheaper. When you put like little dots in your uniforms, because it makes it look more cheaply made. But also, they justified it by saying it's like how oxygen dissipates at higher altitude levels, which is really, really stupid. In my opinion, the sleeves have like this like mountain design that it doesn't look that much like a mountain, even though it's supposed to be a mountain. And the helmet has this really stupid looking stripe that you can't even see from the front of the helmet. It's like this like two angles like that, two like trapezoids that are close together, but they're all made of the tiny little triangles. It looks really bad. I really don't like it. It's so awful. I don't like the finish that they put on the helmet very much at all. It makes the shade of navy feel too dull and too dark. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? Frick, what was it? I just don't like it overall. The pant stripes aren't that great. I feel like it's got like one stripe and then another one that's kind of like truncated, so it's like cut off at some point. I don't think it looks very good. It's like, in theory, it's fine, but in practice, it could do so much better. And it's what I don't like about it is that they went all in on the mountain theme just because Colorado is on like in the Rocky Mountains and is high up. But like they put hidden references to the number 5,280 everywhere, like on the helmet bumper and like subtly in the side of the pants and like in the back collar, which is fine, but like,
what is the number?
It's 5,280 because that's how many feet are in a mile. Because that's how many feet are in a mile, and Denver is a mile up in elevation. That's it. It's like
that's kind of okay. That's a kind of cool little Easter egg, though.
But like, nothing about this feels like the Broncos. It feels like the Denver Colorados, not the Denver Broncos, which is why I'm complaining about it.
Okay,
like for what that's it is, they also made like a 40 million combos. There's like 37 different pants, jersey, sock combos, and only like 6 of them look good, like in terms of the way the colors are arranged. So that's not ideal. I really hope they wear the 6 good ones and none of the other ones because they look bad. Anyway, they get like C-, D+ for me. And then the Texans, Houston Texans are the last team. They're so close to being really good. They're so close. I like a lot of parts of it. What holds them back for me is the number font is really wonky on like specifically the numbers 2 and 3. It looks really weird. It feels like they kept trying to add.
I was just about to say how cool those are. I like the 2 and 3.
It's just too much. It's too much for a football uniform. Like it's a fine font. It just doesn't really work. I just don't like it. I feel like it's a bit too messed with, you know? I feel like just keep it simple. Like it works. You can do a little bit of that, but I feel like they're just doing too much to specifically those numbers where it feels like over-designed. And I don't like how inconsistent they are from the home and away jerseys. Like the Navy jersey has logos on the shoulders instead of like the sweeping bullhorn stripes. I kind of like the sweeping bullhorn stripes. They're a little bit cheesy, but at the same time it works pretty well. The new red helmet is fine. I just don't like all red. I feel like you want white pants with that. I just don't like monochrome ever. And then the alternate that they added, I don't like the H logo that they have. It doesn't match their other logo at all. Like in theory, it's fine. It just doesn't fit well. I think the brightness of the shade of red doesn't work that well when there's that much red with like on the navy base with like lighter blue accents. Like I can see why they wanted to do it. They wanted to have some kind of nod to the Houston Oilers and their shade of blue, but I just don't think this was very well executed. I do like the little red flecks on the helmet itself. That's kind of cool, actually. I just don't like the logo. And this uniform, in my opinion, is just completely unnecessary. But they're like otherwise few tweaks away from being really, really good. I like the away uniform a lot. I think it's really solid. The only things I'd change are the number font being a bit less wonky and making things consistent across both jerseys. Because like when you have a logo on both sides of the helmet and on each shoulder cap, and on the side of the pants, that's showing up 6 times on the uniform. I don't think your logo needs to show up 6 times on your uniform. And it's, personally, one of my favorite logos in all of sports. So, like, even I think that's too much, and it's one of my favorite logos in sports. The bullhead.
Yeah.
But, like, otherwise, very close to being, like, a modern classic. It's very, very close. But, yeah. And it feels especially, like, loud, considering how, like, stripped down the previous uniforms were. Because, like, the only problem with the previous uniforms is that they were kind of forgettable, just because it's navy and red, which is a generic color scheme, and it was very simple uniforms that didn't have that much of a personality. But, like, and I like how this new one has personality. It's just not quite as simplified as it could be. But yeah, I give them probably B would be an A if they actually, like, made things consistent and toned down the number font a little. But yeah, that's my NFL uniform review for this season. I did it. I did it.
50 seconds to spare.
Wow. I'm so good at this.
Very nice.
What the listeners don't know is I've
podcasting.
Yeah.
The listeners don't know is I've been out the room for the entire time. I just took a quick break. It's a great break for me. I hear the word. All I heard was NFL, and then after that, it just turned into gibberish to me.
Yeah, that's fair. Man. But yeah.
All right. Well, our last thing that we've just seen out on the internet, and me and Sean are kind of going to tag team this one because I don't think Perrin's got anything with this. But Sean, you went through the most of it, so I'll let you carry it.
Okay. So, as everyone on Earth knows, because there's no way to avoid this, I feel like even like a tribe who's never even spoken like to anyone from like civilization would have heard about this album. I've heard the new Taylor Swift album, The Tortured Poets Department, but
I'll add real quick that my girlfriend asked me what it was called, and I said The Haunted Poet Society, and I was pretty close.
It could be anything you want. It could be anything you want. It could be anything, close. Yeah, whatever your heart's desire. But Taylor, she pulled an epic prank on us. So originally, when the album was announced at the Grammys, we thought it was only 16 songs and an hour long. Which, okay, whatever. I still think that's too long for a Taylor Swift album of all things, but I'll take it. I can stomach it. I've stomached much worse. I've listened to Nostalgia Critic's The Wall. I can stomach it. But then at 2 a.m., she releases a second edition of the album titled The Tortured Poets Department, The Anthology, which adds another 15 songs to the album. 15 songs. It is 31 songs, 2 hours and 2 minutes. 2 hours of straight Taylor Swift. And I listened to the whole thing just for the laugh, and I am a changed man.
Did you laugh?
No, I cried inside. I don't know. Look, I'm gonna be like, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I'm no Swiftie, but I didn't mind Folklore. I didn't mind Evermore. Those albums, they're pretty decent. They're decent folk records. You know what? I'll give Taylor that. And while I haven't listened to them, I'll also give credit for those kind of like the Taylor's version of her albums. That seems to be pretty commendable. Most people have said it's pretty impressive what she's done considering how close they are to the originals. And some of the extra material that's came off those records has been pretty good. So I'll give her that. But then Midnights from 2022 was bad. I don't like it. I'm going to say, I know he isn't a bad producer all the time, but Jack Antonoff on that record sucked. His production makes everything sound really, really bland. And what's worse on this record is he produces the first half of the record, a straight hour of Midnight's B-sides. It is Midnight's B-sides, and that's saying something because Midnight's itself was B-sides.
I'll say I'm very surprised sometimes to hear how bad the production is on some of her songs when I know that Jack Antonoff is
he's a good
on
producer.
Average. He's
a
solo
project
producer when he's like actually working. When he's working with anybody else aside from Taylor Swift, he is a fantastic producer, which is really
He
weird.
produced Lord's Melodrama, which is regarded as her best album. He's produced other records that are seen as masterpieces.
He produced Lana Del Rey's newest album. That's got some really good reviews. The name is really long. I keep forgetting what it is. But it's
he also produced the new 1975 record, which I think is their best album. It is very good.
Yeah, and his Bleacher stuff and that was not fantastic. I love his Bleacher stuff so much. I'm like a very large Bleacher stan.
When he works with Taylor, though, it's a disaster. It's not bad in the conventional sense. If you actually just put this on, it sounds really well produced. It's well engineered in a sense. It's not incompetent, but what it is bland. It is the blandest thing you'll ever hear. Like if you're wanting just wallpaper music, that is what this album is. It's wallpaper. Yeah. Like I just can't stomach the first half is horrendous. I can't stomach it. There's one thing I hate more than bad albums, and that is boring albums. At least a bad album, you might laugh at it. You might like just find it so inexplicably awful that it almost is like mind blowing. But when it's boring, you're just sitting there kind of waiting for it to end. Yeah. That's what I was waiting on. Yeah. It was like, please let my suffering end.
Exactly. But mediocrity is more infuriating than just being outright bad. Absolutely.
So, yeah. The second half of the record, the anthology, is not as bad. It's produced by Aaron Dessner, who is the producer for The National, and he's also produced some other folk records. He produced Ed Sheeran's Subtract, which is not saying much, but is his best record. I gave it like a 4 out of 10. So, I mean, that's better than 0, which I gave every other album he's ever made.
Your hatred for Ed Sheeran is hilarious to me, and I love it so much. It's so funny to me.
I've heard more Ed Sheeran than I need to hear in my life. It's a problem.
Me too.
But yeah, I hate Ed Sheeran.
Do you know how many people like tell me I look like Ed Sheeran just because we're both ginger?
That is the ultimate insult.
More than that, more than anything, that's why. That is the root of my hatred for Ed Sheeran. Like, I don't care for his music at all, but like, it's not the worst thing in the world. But man, being like visually compared to that man is horrible. I can't stand it.
So, yeah, the second half is produced by Aaron Dessner, who also produced Folklore Nevermore. So, in general, it's, like, a bit more interesting, at least. Like, in terms of, like, it's more rich. Like, it's a folk record, basically. Imagine a mid-folk record. That's what it is. It's, like, a 4 out of 10. Some of the lyrics, though, are just bad. They're just plain bad. Like, I'm not going to get into all of them because that would take way too long because there's so many bad ones.
Can I say real quick the one that stood out? I have not listened to this album, to clarify.
Good, don't.
I've listened to like 2 songs because my girlfriend listened to it because she's a Taylor Swift fan, and she told me this is legitimately one of the worst albums I've ever heard. And she said, some of the lyrics are so funny, I just want you to hear a few of them. Mm-hmm. There's one lyric that says, "We declared that Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist."
He is the
That's a lyric. I'm not saying
he's the 111th most listened to person on Spotify.
Yeah.
But regardless, what kind of lyric is that? That's not.
Also, in the same
it's not poetic. Line, it doesn't seem to have meaning.
In that same verse, there's also you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever.
What does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
In reference to Matty Healy, the front man of the 1975, who she went out with for like 5 minutes. I don't know.
That doesn't
and I don't
mean
care
anything.
to know.
That's not how nothing. Metaphor is supposed to work.
I read the lyric you mentioned there, Micah. I read the Genius annotation. It doesn't explain the lyric. No one can explain that lyric. No. It is nonsense. And those kind of lyrics are littered throughout the record. It's just nonsense. And it just feels like that kind of, those inspirational Instagram quotes that are kind of like deep, make you think, I'm 14 and this is deep. That's what his record is. I'm 14 and this is deep. Yeah. This woman's in her 40s. How are you writing stuff like this? Whenever she says...
She's in her 30s, I think.
I think she's just went into her 40s, I think.
Is she really?
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
1989,
no way.
She's...
34, 34, my bad, sorry. She's in her 30s, though. For a 30-year-old, that's still bad.
Her album 1989, it's called that because it's the year she was born. That's why it's easy to remember.
Yeah. I thought she just chose that year for some reason. Maybe because there is there's a line here in the album where she says she wants to go back to the 1830s without all the racists. As if that was the only problem in the 1830s. But yeah, I could go on forever, but I'm just saying I gave this record like a terrible review. I hate it. It's her worst record. It is 2 hours long that I'll never get back.
Man.
I don't want to talk about this ever again.
Let's move on to our quote-unquote main topic, but we don't have that much time left. So realistically, it's just another thing we're going to talk about.
Speedrun.
Yeah, speedrun this episode. Humane, which is this startup company, made what they called the AI Pin. So it is this. It's this little box, this little rectangular prism, that get used magnetically pinned to whatever shirt or jacket you're wearing.
Yep.
And it has a laser projector. It has like depth sensors. It has a camera. It has microphones. It has a speaker. And its whole point is essentially an interface for basically ChatGPT.
Basically.
That you can talk back and forth with it by pressing on it. Not with like a hot word, with like
you have to go like this, like you're from Star Trek.
Yes, you have to press on it.
Yeah.
And then it gets the response, sends you back the response.
After like a million years.
After a delay. And you can also, if you want to read the response, then you can hold out your hand and it's a laser projector.
Just don't do it outdoors.
Shine on your hands. Yeah, don't do it outdoors. So the point of this, we wouldn't generally just cover like a product on this podcast. The reason why we're covering this is because this has become very controversial because of a specific review that one product reviewer did on it. And that reviewer is Marquez Brownlee, aka MKBHD on YouTube. And he gave this a brutally honest review. I've watched it. It's very honest. It's a well done review.
It's a very good review of the product.
He gives them points where he can, but it's undeniable that it's just a bad product.
Simple.
It really is.
And also, this is something we need to make clear right now. The cost of this thing is insane. So at base price, if you can go for like the lowest price, it's $699, and then on top of that, you have to pay a $24 subscription every month to use the product. To use it, not just to get like extra features, to use it.
What I'm assuming, and I'm also gonna go ahead and say I doubt we'll see any AI based products without subscription fees within the next several years, probably, because these models cost so much money to run that getting high quality fast responses from models is going to cost companies money, so they're not going to sell you a device without a subscription.
Like, I get why it costs that, but the problem is no one wants to pay that. That's simple as that.
Yes. So there's a few issues here. There's hardware issues. So like Perrin mentioned, the laser projector is so low power that it's almost unreadable outside, or completely unreadable outside if it's very bright.
Well, that's the thing I don't understand. Can I just go to say about the projector? I don't get that. Like a projector, we all know you can't see a projector outdoors in sunlight. It just is not how projectors work. It's just
that's the thing about projectors is that it's based on light.
Yeah,
it's throwing light at things.
And they thought, this would be a great idea. Hey, you know how this product's meant to make you look more at, like, the world? Well, problem is, when you're out in the world, you can't use the thing half the time because you can't see what it's doing, basically. Because that's the other issue is you have to speak to it. But most people, you can't do that in most environments. You're not going to sit in a meeting and go, hold it down your chest and speak to it. That's just not how it's going to work. So people have to have an actual user interface, and it doesn't work. Or at least
there's also some other problems that have been pointed out with it. One of the facts being that the battery packs they're like magnetic wireless charging.
Yep.
And they so like the wireless charging kind of pack kind of thing sits behind your shirt and the like inside your shirt and the pin itself in the front. However, heat resistance is a thing.
Again, basic physics.
It creates heat. Yeah, basic physics. And there's also the issue of the microphone quality is not great. There's also the issue of it, like the responses that it gets are, number one, it's basically ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT, if you want ChatGPT,
it's free.
You can. It's
as well.
Free for one. There's multiple things. There's the recent Nothing earbuds have come with ChatGPT integration, so you just hold down your earbuds, and then you've got ChatGPT, which is great. That's great. And also ChatGPT's app is really solid. Like, it's a solid mobile app.
Yeah.
It is great.
So again, it's like
so the problem with this product is it does not have a purpose. Like there's nothing here that's not in
and
another
it's
product.
way too expensive for what it is.
It's
The
way too
problem is,
expensive. The price
that's
more than anything feels the most outrageous part of this.
Yeah,
is the steep price of the item itself, and then getting the subscription fee to even like have it work is absolutely insane.
Yeah. And it's the other thing as well. It's like this is another thing that wasn't meant. I think The Verge mentioned it. I don't know if Marquez did, but if you want to ask it to play music, you have to have a Tidal subscription. It doesn't work with Apple Music. Does not work with Spotify, nor YouTube Music, not any of the other streaming platforms. But Tidal. Tidal's fine. I don't have anything against Tidal, but most people are not using Tidal. Most people are using,
I will say,
Spotify, YouTube Music, or Apple Music. That's the three big ones.
I can understand Apple Music or YouTube Music not being supported. However, Spotify is so good about integration. There is not a device that Spotify is not on. Spotify's on Roku. It's on Android TV. It's on Android.
At this point, it's on your toaster.
Hang on,
it's on your toaster at this point.
Spotify's
counterpoint.
There's no reason.
I can think of one device that Spotify isn't on that a competitor is on.
The Apple HomePod?
No. The Nintendo Wii. Spotify's not on the Nintendo Wii, but Clementine is.
Nah, true. That is true.
Got you there.
One device. One device. So
I bet you I could make a Spotify app for the Wii. Should I do that?
Do it.
Yeah, why not?
Do it.
Why not? That's your next project after Offsides.
You know what? I might look into that. I've been getting back.
That would be so cool. Next episode, you come in and it's like, okay, so I've made a Wii. I've made a Spotify
I got a Wii.
app.
Do you have a Wii to use? Do you have a Wii readily available?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good, perfect.
Of course, me and my roommates play Wii often.
Wii Sports Resort.
It's the best.
Wii
it's
Sports
the best.
Resort.
It's the best console to ever exist. Wii Sports Resort should be the game of the year.
It's the only one to ever get motion controls right.
Yeah.
Before we get
completely off the rails,
Before we get completely off the rails, let's continue. Let's see here. Wow, I lost my place. Where were we in the outline? There it is. Yes. So the point which I want to talk about, and which again Marquez talked about on his podcast, The Waveform, is there's a bunch of backlash to this review. People saying that, oh, it's just a startup. Oh, you shouldn't be so harsh on them. They're doing their best. They're just a startup. Why would you be so harsh to this product? You're responsible if this product dies because you left a really bad review and you're the most popular tech reviewer on YouTube.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think that's true.
No,
that is
not really.
It's an insane take. It's a crazy
especially
take.
Since like he's not.
You're asking for.
It'd be one thing if he was lying and going out of his way to make up claims to make it look bad, because that could actually do.
But every other tech reviewer,
but he's not. He's literally just being
every other tech reviewer.
This is a thing about the product that I don't think is very good, and it makes me not want to get this product. And I could not recommend this product to people. That's just being honest.
Next tech reviewers. Everything by the other tech reviewers that I've seen has been
the same.
The same
same problems.
This should not exist. This doesn't even look like it's going anywhere.
Yeah. And they all said the same complaints, like it's overheating, it's slow, it's irritating, it's too expensive, all that kind of stuff. But the thing with Marquez was, I would actually say his review was very charitable to the product, because his first half of the review is not even talking about the issues of the product. He's just explaining the product to the people who don't even know what this thing is, because he said that in like the video in response to the backlash. He said like most people don't know about this product. Most people have not heard of this thing. So this is their first exposure to it. So he actually explained what Humane is trying to do, what the concept of the product is, what it's meant to do. And then on the second half, he actually says what the product is like to use. And that's when he is, honest and just says it sucks. Because it does. Like, he proves it really succinctly, because in the review, he asks it a question. I think it's like there's a car in front of him, a Tesla, I think it was. He says, what is this? Because one of the things it can do, it can tell you what something is when it looks at it by taking a picture. So he asks it, what is this? And then while it is working to find the answer, he gets his phone out, opens up Google Lens, uses Google Lens, and finds the product before it answers.
Man.
Like it took a solid 12 seconds.
Tinny robot voice.
And also the voice is very creepy.
The voice is awful. But the whole that's the thing is people are like, oh, like a portable device that we can talk to and tell us something, or like recognize images.
That kind of sounds like my
sounds
phone.
really sounds like my phone.
It's a phone. I noticed that. I don't have to use a projector to use it. I can just like look at an actual screen that I can see in the daylight.
Crazy.
I can also, if you're talking about image recognition, I can literally like just from my home screen, I can hold down and click Google Lens, or I can literally click
open the
Lens icon right there, and boom.
Yeah, exactly. And Marquez proved that because he did it before the thing answered. So again, it just kind of proves like what is the purpose of this product?
It's trying
to replace the smartphone. Exactly, it's trying to replace the smartphone. Humane wants to replace the smartphone because they're saying we want to get people away from screens. We want them to be in the real world. Okay, but the problem is a smartphone does everything it does better. I don't see it getting better because, again, the fundamental part of the product doesn't work because most environments that we're in, we can't speak to the device. Like if you're in a meeting, like I say, you're not going to speak to it. You have to then look at a screen of some kind of interface, visual interface. Simple as that. That's when you need a phone. So
one of the things I've seen in the AI revolution in general recently is that, or not even general, for years, people have been like, oh, eventually all we have to do is talk to the computer and tell it what we want. Humans are very visual people.
Exactly.
I have sincere doubts that we'll ever get to the point where we use purely auditory interfaces.
This is a personal problem for me, for example, right? I have a Google Home, right? But half the time when I speak to it, even now, it doesn't understand me. It doesn't understand my accent. That's the issue. If you're not American or English or like one of the major accents, it doesn't understand you. And simply put, the companies don't have the time, they don't care, or they don't have the money to invest to make these machines understand everyone. So if I use this Humane Pin, it probably wouldn't understand me. It probably would just not know what to do. So immediately, it's again an issue of I need a screen because there's one thing that a screen always understands, and that's touch or a mouse, a peripheral of some kind.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the fundamental issue is you're trying to replace something that I don't think needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then as far as is Marquez Brownlee liable for the imminent, or I would say imminent.
It's
only
imminent.
A matter of
it's
time.
coming. Like it's like what happened with
this
Fisker,
company,
for example, which is a car he reviewed, which also then went bankrupt very quickly after he reviewed it, which again was not his fault.
That sounds to me like correlation and not causation, more than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and he proved that again. He in his video. He proved that because, again, he showed that the companies, like Fisker, for example, this car company, they're in decline way before he came along. People had already reviewed it before him and gave very similar points. It's not like he's the outlier here.
Yeah.
So
a company is going to go bankrupt if their products are bad, regardless of who talks about them. The products are going to be speaking for themselves, regardless. It's not that people... it's not like people are flocking to this product just to dunk on it because Marquise Brownlee reviewed it. It's the product is bad, and people who it's being sold to aren't going to want it regardless because the product is bad. It doesn't matter who's bad mouthing it if the product is simply not good.
Exactly. It'd be one thing if the product wasn't bad and he was lying, but he's not lying. It's a bad product. Yeah. Everyone had the same complaints as he did: overheating, it's slow. It's too expensive. It doesn't work. That's the issue.
Now the one thing that Marquez did have to say, and again another example that he's not just trying to just drag on the product, is that the hardware looks so sick. It looks like overall, the charging dock, the pin itself, everything looks solid. Like it looks.
You can tell that the two CEOs used to work for Apple. It looks like an Apple product. Like in terms of quality, like even the website and stuff, it just looks like an Apple product, and it makes sense because they both used to work for Apple, so it makes sense. It's like, the issue is just simply it can look as pretty as you want, but when you actually have to use it, that's when it falls apart. It's fundamentally like if the iPhone came out like tomorrow, a new iPhone, and it looked really pretty, but it didn't work, like the screen didn't turn on, no one's gonna buy it.
No one's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and if people review a theoretical iPhone that doesn't work and say, "Hey, this doesn't work, don't buy it," Apple isn't gonna be able to like sue the people reviewing it.
Yeah. Well, for example, the iPhone 6, when it had the bend problem, everyone
Yeah.
mentioned it in their reviews and they had to fix it. They couldn't just go and say, oh, you guys are just being mean. So, no, they're telling you an issue with the product and you should fix it. And they did fix it with the 6S. And same with the Note 7. Like, they said it blew up. People had it blow up. Samsung couldn't just turn around and say, you're just being rude to us. You have to be nicer. It's like, no, your phone is exploding. You need to fix it.
Maybe make a good product and I'll be able to say nicer things about it. Crazy
Exactly,
concept,
yeah.
I know.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah. What were you going to say, Micah?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have forgotten. So, let's move on.
And with that.
Yeah. Well, let's just move on to the music segment because we've been recording now for an hour and 10 minutes. Let's move to the music segment. Sean, why don't you get us started?
All right, cool. So this is a new EP from Eden. I've talked about him in the past for his album In Case You Missed It. So these 2 tracks come from the deluxe edition, which was only on vinyl originally, but now they've been released as kind of a final kind of goodbye to this era of his career. And they're just really nice tracks. So there's the first track called Can't, which is kind of like this. It's kind of like indie guitar. Like it's like a, I don't know the best way to describe it, but it's like kind of an indie-tronica kind of track, but it's not got any drums. It's got a lot of atmospheric kind of things that move around. It's like almost a bit ethereal and stuff. It's quite moody and dramatic. And yeah, I quite like that track. Again, it fits into what that album that it comes off of was doing, but I can get why it didn't turn up on the record, because it's a bit too simple compared to some of the other stuff that turned up on it. Then you have The Love You Need, but the U is only the letter U, not the word U, because it's very smart or something, I don't know. But that track is really nice. It has like this phased thing, so it starts off really simple, slowly builds with more elements kind of coming in, more synths and kind of vocal like kind of elements coming in, and then towards the end it comes in with this kind of more heavy kind of drum bit at the end. It kind of has this kind of big release, and then it just kind of. What's really funny is it gets cut off in like a very like artificial way, but again, it kind of fits that album because again, it's also a bit of a glitch. I wouldn't even say glitch hop because that would make it sound a bit too energetic, but it's like it has a glitch element to it. It's experimental, if you get what I mean by that. It's kind of it's an album where I find it hard to describe because it is very of its own. It's very one of a kind. Kind of like when I heard By the Time I Get to Phoenix, it's very unique. It's something you can't just describe. You have to just kind of listen to it to actually understand what I'm getting at. So probably not actually a good choice for the music segment. I can't actually describe it very well, but it's a pretty good EP. It's called 2019-2022 in brackets. Yeah, it's a pretty good EP. It's only 2 tracks, so it's like 8 minutes. Yeah, I quite liked it. So that's what I've been listening to.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Very cool. I'm talking about, again, what Perrin mentioned last episode, the Unheard EP, which is by Hozier. And I am kind of obsessed with this EP overall.
Why am I not surprised?
Excellent.
I mean, it's Hozier.
I know. Well, generally you wouldn't be surprised, but also specifically this is just again an extension of some of the sounds we got to hear on Unreal on Earth, which is his most recent album. And I'll add that the first track, Too Sweet, not only like has gone viral on like social media, but also is now currently number 1 on the Billboard Top 100.
Wow.
Oh
like,
no!
It is the number 1.
Not Taylor Swift losing the top spot.
Oh no!
Exactly. So it's literally the most streamed on Billboard's Top 100 right now, which is insane. Hozier's never had a number 1.
Can I say something that's might be a bit sacrilegious with that in mind? Personally,
let's hear it.
I think it's my least favorite on the EP.
It may be mine, actually. It really may.
It's just kind of
no. It's not my least favorite. It's my second
very
least favorite.
generic and straightforward and poppy compared to most of Hosier's work, and that's probably why it's selling so well.
I'll say
because it's so uninteresting. But yeah, it's just not my favorite. It's still pretty good.
It's also gotten to the point where it's
one of Hosier's most generic songs is still at worst a 6 out of 10. You know.
Oh, I would argue higher than that, but
a little higher than that, probably 7.5, probably realistically. But
there's 4 tracks in the album. 2 Sweet's the first track, which is again this kind of more poppy, bass-heavy track. There's Wildflower and Barley, which this took me by surprise. It's featuring Allison Russell, who's an artist who's currently on tour with him, and she brings this really, really unique harmony to that song. But what surprises me, it's this very kind of like folky track with kind of a lot of guitar and even like some like outdoor sound effects in the background and parts of it. However, in the chorus, there's just like this 808 that goes boom. It's really weird, but it sounds so sick. It's really neat. And it's a really like beautiful. It's really beautifully written song in terms of lyricism and in music. There's Empire Now, which is this really kind of cinematic experience of a song. It's very, I don't know, it's very hard to describe, but it's very cinematic and kind of almost orchestral, but not really. And then there's Farewell, which is this really pretty acoustic guitar song. I think it's my least favorite.
I think that Farewell is my favorite personally. It's my favorite of the EP.
Wow. Okay.
I just really like the guitar. Just grooves so well to me. I just really like how it works.
It's the entire EP is very like, it's clear that this is not just B-sides that he cut from the album.
Lyrically, it could probably be a bit better, but I just really like the chorus, the scope of the sound. I guess it feels very like dramatic and cinematic and big, and just the guitar is just so good. I just really like the riffs and the chord progressions on this one. It's really nice.
Yeah, the entire album is clear that like cutting these from Unreal on Earth was like a hard thing to do because these are very close in quality to a lot of Unreal on Earth. I'd argue that some of them are better than some stuff on Unreal on Earth, which is insane because that's my favorite album of all time.
Yeah,
but
Oh, don't talk about favorite albums of all time. I'm gonna have to mention it. I'm going to mention it. It's Kid A.
Kid A.
No. All right, Perrin, quick, take the reins.
So about Kid A. So it was a great album.
All right, before Sean goes on a tangent about Kid A again, I'm going to talk about Vampire Weekend's newest album called Only God Was Above Us. It's Vampire Weekend. They're kind of a bit difficult to describe in terms of their style, but this album feels a lot less poppy, I guess, compared to their other albums. It's got a lot more experimental sounds. I mean, in some ways, I guess it's a little poppy.
To me, it was like... It's like, I would say it mixes a bit of rock, pop, and even a little bit of like hip hop almost in there. Because for example, the Surfer's drum beat is like quite like. I'm also say the Surfer is my favorite track off that.
There's a lot of tracks with taking inspiration from a whole wide range of genres, and I didn't notice until I watched a review and actually stopped to listen to it a second time. But it's nothing. The bass is only upright bass across the entire album. There's no electric bass anywhere. It's all upright bass, which is really interesting. It's a really nice sound when paired with these synths and guitars and really blaring electronic effects. It's really well done.
It's really analog, it's a really analog sound, and I really like it. It's like you can feel how rich and
it's a really nice mix of very analog sounds with digital blaring horns almost. It's very everything that is digital is taking, sounds to me at least, I have no clue how music is made, but it sounds like it's just taking instrument sounds and digitally altering them as opposed to completely digital sounds.
Making them in a computer, for example.
But it's a really good album. For whatever reason, it's the only thing that's helped me lock in and be productive over the last couple of weeks.
I've been listening to much music to lock into.
It's for whatever it's fine. It's this last couple of weeks have been final projects and stuff, right? It's the only thing that's working, dude. I don't know why. My attention span is so stupid. but it's for whatever reason my brain hears this is just like, this is good. I can be productive to this. But yeah, really good album. Lyrics are really, really strong. It's a very good album. There's a lot to say on this album, but we don't have that much time. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Gotta be at least 8.5 out of 10 for me. I'd say my favorite tracks off this one are the opening song, Ice Cream Piano, and probably Gen X Cops would be my number 2. But yeah, very, very good album. Like it a lot. Very energetic, but also not afraid to like slow it down on a couple of songs. It's just a really good album all the way through. It kind of hits every single possible note you can want from an album, which is really cool. Really good.
I'll also quickly shout out just before we go as well, the new Paul Robinson song, Knock Yourself Out XD. Very good track. Very fun. Good track. I like it. Feels like you're floating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Taylor Swift. Great line.
It's a little simple, but I think it really works. I'm guessing it's supposed to sound like a really like jerky influencer and kind of making fun of them.
Yeah,
that's the vibe
I think that's what he's
going
for.
But yeah.
I
saw a comment on the music video. Music video is pretty cool. But like some people are saying this kind of sounds like a classic Owl City song just a little bit in terms of the melody and the style of the synths and stuff. And I can kind of see it. I get a little bit Owl City vibes from this track, just a little bit. But yeah, very good track. I don't like it quite as much as Cheerleader. It's not quite as strong in my book, but still really good. Super hyped for the new album, which comes out in July. I absolutely love the like early 2010s internet lingo he's chucking into the hype for this album. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. Like it's not just called Knock Yourself Out. It's Knock Yourself Out XD, like the little crying laughing emoticon. It's great. The album is called Smile, but it's all caps with an exclamation point with the like colon
and a smiley face,
super smiley face emoji. It's so good. I love it so much. It really feels like it's an ode to the internet so far. That's the vibe I'm getting. Like it's all about like interacting with, I'm guessing it's because this is the kind of vibe of the internet around the time when you started to get really popular. That's my guess, is like kind of the source of inspiration on it so far. But yeah, super, super hyped for the album. I gotta check if he's coming to Boston. I kind of want to, if he is, I want to go see him live.
I'll also quickly shout out the new 21 Pilot singles that came out while we were away. Next Semester and Backslide. We also didn't mention
both
Next
very
Semester
good.
either.
Next Semester is
I love
phenomenal.
Next Semester is like one of their best tracks writing wise. I think it's one of their best written songs. And I also love the instrumental there. It's very passionate, energetic, it's beautiful. And Backslide I also quite like. It took a bit longer to click with me, but I actually like the more minimal sound. It's a nice kind of come off from Next Semester, so I actually quite like that song as well.
Very good so far.
Clancy's
as well.
Clancy is shaping up to be at least I feel like this album's going to be challenging Trench at least. Like I don't know if I'll like it as much as Trench, but I think at least it'll be like kind of a debate at least as to which one is better. Whereas obviously Scaled and Icy I think was no debate there. Trench still smashed that one. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
Well, we will probably go ahead and roll out, I suppose. Thank you so much.
TNC hosts, roll out.
Yes, TNC hosts, roll out. It's been great to be back with y'all. My name is Micah.
My name is Sean.
And I'm Perrin.
And you can find us online at bio.link/TNC. You can find me at micahlinley.com. You can find Sean at seanjw.com. You can find Perrin at
here we go.
https:// Perrin-designs.myportfolio.
I'm never gonna live this down.
Yeah,
man.
Just get a domain. Get a domain.
Micah, if you're so smart, you could always make me a portfolio website, and then you wouldn't have to bother with the link. I'm just saying.
Then it would be Perrin-grub .micahlinley.com, which just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's even longer. That's even longer.
It'd be funnier though.
Yeah.
True.
True. What would we do? Like, is BB like a final extension? You can have GRU. Gru's minions. Oh my god.
No, I'm good. I'll pass on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you can find me.
indeed. And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Farewell.